Okay, let's wait for some people to get here, but just kind of wanted to talk about like losing things, whether that be like losing as in not winning, or like losing as in not having something anymore. Loss can be taken 3 ways: competition, objects, and the meme. True. Sure. Hey Jamer. Hey Leroy. What about death? Yeah, loss of a person. I think maybe we can start with like, I don't know, I'm thinking of like, I just clicked on my YouTube video and notification popped saying I was streaming. Oh yeah, I am streaming. Hey Austin. Hey Jake. The concept of like, I guess a lot of people put a lot of value on like the way that things are right now, and I don't know, I think people are maybe very afraid of change, and I think when people lose something, I think their first instinct is often to try getting it back. I guess not always are you... Oh, music feels a little loud. Like, not always are you necessarily better off having that thing, or like... It's not like the only good timeline is the one where you end up like keeping that thing or having that thing or like winning that thing. I don't know, just something to think about. I think like there's a lot of value that can come out of forced change, I guess, like losing something. Hey Meetin, hey, welcome. Yeah, a lot of value can come out of that, and like I guess a good example from recent times is the sort of shifts in society since lockdown, losing our ability to, you know, go outside. Like if you work at a company, like losing the ability to like literally go to work. Like you have to go from home, you have to use online applications, and you can't like be in person. You don't have in-person meetings anymore, and like in a way, like that's something that we lost during the last year. And obviously not to say it's gone forever, but it is something that like we really weren't able to do. But like think about it, like you've seen companies at first were like, I would not want to move to a remote setting, and then now after we've been in remote for a year, it's like, I wouldn't want to go back to being in person. So losing can force you or give you a reason to get better in tournaments. Yeah, that's true. It can always be motivating to push yourself and improve more. I think that's yeah, sometimes better than, like, you learn a lot more from losing something. Don't move my cheese example. What? I don't know what that means. Don't move my cheese. Yeah, who moved my cheese? Is that what it is? Oh, I see. Wait, I'm down to watch this. People don't like to change things unless they have to. Yeah, I agree with that. Where do you find a drive to keep trying if you're consistently failing or losing for so long? I think your motivation should come like from, I don't know, I guess this maybe sounds generic and this might not be exactly what I'm trying to say, but like your motivation should like just come from within you, like your own passion to do that thing or get better at that thing. Like when your motivation is to reach a certain status or to like acquire a certain thing, like tangible, like physical, not physical, but like, yeah, goals like those, I feel like you'll never be satisfied. I think you should find successes in your losses, I guess. Probably good to have mentioned in the fear discussion. Well, we can always, you know, talk back and forth, bring up past topics and stuff like that. I don't mind. Oh, you know, I was just thinking, like when I started the stream, I can't really remember, like maybe like any video that I've seen that might necessarily play into this topic. But I just remembered one. Let me find it. It's another Pursuit of Wonder video. Okay, I'm just gonna look for it. We were all made by... Oh yeah, we are all made by accidents. I think it's this one.
At some point.
Is it? Yeah, I found it. Finish my next Aspire map. Oh, nice. Lost 2048. Oh no. It's okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's watch this video. Yeah. Okay, let's watch this. It'll be 10 minutes, so I'll speed it up.
At some point, all the children who are told they can do anything if they just believe hard enough turn into adults. And for the majority of them whose hopes and dreams don't come true, the fall back down to reality is oftentimes painful and sometimes lethal. Like most children, Felix had been brought up extremely high by this idea in the early part of his life. He was told that he could do anything he wanted if he just believed and worked hard enough, that he was the sole driver of his successes or lack thereof, that he was either going to make it and achieve greatness and worthiness in the world, or he was not.
Oh, here, let me link the video.
In both cases, that he was either going to make it and achieve greatness and worthiness in the world, or he was not. And in both cases, it would be him who was solely responsible or to blame. Now, in his mid-30s, having worked a series of jobs in a variety of industries, starting in mostly service jobs, then going on to different labor and contract jobs, and most recently, a series of office jobs, Felix had felt himself falling further and further from the heights of his hopes and dreams, approaching, in his view, the ground floor of failures and losers. Felix always did his jobs well and with integrity, but hated just about all of them. Like many people, he wanted more than a job. As a child and teen, he formed the deep desire to be famous, which he still had not yet shaken. Growing up in a single-parent household with a mother who had to work all the time just to get by, Felix was both in a somewhat disadvantaged position to become highly successful and famous, while simultaneously a position that made it all the more desirable and important to him. He wanted greatness. He wanted personal ownership and creative distinguishment. He wanted independence and legacy. He wanted love in the form of wealth and blind public admiration. But he had yet to find anything close. And his self-worth, inextricably linked with his achievements or lack thereof, now hung in the balance of his life's aimlessness. He felt as though he was an oncoming failure who deserved the title. It's not as if Felix had not tried. He had tried many things, many different ways. However, everything seemed to just lead to dead ends. He was too small and slow for the sports he pursued in high school, his attempts at rapping and singing went nowhere, and his paintings never sold. The only real surviving dream he had left was filmmaking, which he had formed as an interest in the middle of high school and held on to ever since. However, his film projects weren't getting him anywhere either, and he couldn't afford much equipment, which made it hard to appeal to freelance clients. Financially and realistically, college was also not in the cards for Felix, and so he couldn't leverage any of the opportunities that might have existed that route either. As he aged out of high school, further and further into early adulthood, and none of his dreams were paying any of the bills, he inevitably had to get a more stable income, inciting the start of him working more traditional long-term jobs. During and following this time, though, Felix continued to pursue his personal goals in film production around his work schedule. At around 23, for the first time, he saw the beginning of a real potential path forming towards this dream, getting hired as an unpaid intern as a weekend filmer for a local TV studio. It was at this point that Felix planned to double down on his goals of filmmaking and getting into the world of Hollywood. 1 year later, however, Felix's mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. Fortunately, within 3 years' time, she would make a full recovery, but this monkey wrench of unforeseen financial burden forced Felix to refocus his entire attention on better paying regular jobs in order to help support his mother and younger sister during this time. Soon, the majority of his own time would be taken up, his free time becoming mostly dedicated to sleeping and preparing for work, the occasional off days spent just trying to enjoy the small amount he had with friends and family, and so forth. Even though his mother would go on to recover, Felix would, for all intents and purposes, become caught in this routine of life, the stress of his work increasingly draining him to the point of almost complete deflation. He couldn't help but give further and further into the implications of everything, and lose almost all remaining motivation and self-belief, finally hitting the ground floor. Felix would continue on through his life from here, working, doing his best, and living with his wife Marie and their dog Sammy. By his late 30s, he had climbed into slightly better job positions, making and saving better money, and creating an okay life for himself. But he was bored, tired, and entirely unfulfilled by the mindless tedium of it all. He loathed himself, and he loathed himself for loathing himself, knowing that he had it all right and had no excuse. It was around this time that he had begun to more seriously consider the idea of ending the whole thing, frequently ideating on the notions of failure and pointlessness, and the particular extreme conclusion that can sometimes be drawn from such a line of thought. One day around this time, while cleaning out the gutters on the side of his and his wife's house, Felix clumsily missed his step on one of the rungs of the ladder and slipped forward off the side, falling onto the ground where the yard met the edge of the driveway. Fortunately, the height was fairly low, and he fell safely enough to catch himself before landing too awkwardly. With exception to a few mild scrapes on the left side of his torso and thigh, he was fine. A close call perhaps, but nothing more. It did, however, strike Felix. As he got back up and finished the job, he thought to himself about how life was funny like that, how fragile and malleable it is and can be. In one moment, everything is one way, and then in the next, with one small wrong step, everything can change and tragedy can strike. Suddenly, Felix felt a resurgence of motivation run through his veins, scheming in his head a plan of action to getting back into camera work and video production more seriously. He imagined and plotted a scenario where he would soon be able to quit his job and go full-time on his own, pursuing a higher promised land of individual greatness and success. A few days later, while at his office job, Felix began to feel a horrible sudden fever, becoming terribly fatigued and unable to properly hold himself up. It got so bad so quickly, his coworkers called 911. At the hospital, it was discovered that Felix had MRSA, a flesh-eating staph infection. While diagnosing the situation, it would become evident that the source was those small scrapes he received from the fall off the ladder. That minor, commonplace injury had in fact exploded into catastrophe, the infection spreading through his bloodstream and into other areas of his body. The doctor informed him, his wife, and younger sister that it wasn't clear if he would survive, and it might be wise to say anything they might like to say to each other as soon as possible. Furthermore, the doctor went on to say that if he did survive, it wasn't clear if he would ever be able to walk, talk, or function properly as himself again. Felix immediately underwent 2 separate back-to-back surgeries in hopes of saving him and removing and repairing as much infected damage as possible. Despite the high level of uncertainty and doubt, Felix would survive. Somehow, he came out the other side mostly unscathed in comparison to the expectations. A stroke of unbelievable luck according to the doctors and nurses. He was essentially as good as before, with exception to one thing. The infection had gotten into his brain tissue and subsequently his optic nerves. Now, and almost certainly for the rest of his life, he was blind. Once Felix returned home and had enough time and space to sufficiently realize what was happening, he quickly began to sink into the reality of what he deemed was the final straw of the tragic drama that was his life. He realized that he would no longer have any possible chance in doing much of anything, especially the one thing he still held some semblance of hope towards. He, of course, could not pursue camera work and filmmaking blind. In fact, he couldn't really do his regular job anymore either, seeing as how it was primarily paperwork and computer files. Felix thought about how horribly and astonishingly unlucky he was. A failure ruined by the gutters. Tragic poetry, he thought. Felix essentially called it quits on life at this point, sinking into his living room couch with no plan to ever get up. Over the course of the following several months, the only thing he could bring himself to do was continue to shrivel into the couch cushions and watch endless marathons of movies. Of course, Felix could not watch the movies, but he could listen, and that's what he did, all the time. At some point early on, he would receive entitlement to Social Security disability checks each month, essentially absolving him from having to work or worry about making money, allowing him all the more easily to just continue watching endless amounts of movies, focusing on anything or nothing. Eventually, he would run through so many movies, good and bad, that he began to just rewatch his favorites over and over. He watched some of them so many times that he was nearly able to recite the entirety of the dialogues verbatim while watching. Despite how strange this little activity of learning the lines of movies was, it helped Felix keep busy, giving him something to do and focus on, filling his days with purpose, and keeping him from the alternative. It eventually got so concentrated and important to him that for several of his favorite movies, he actually tried to learn how to play along with the music as well, playing the melodies on an old keyboard he was given from his cousin as a hand-me-down gift in elementary school. Even though he never really played it much as a child or any time after, strangely, he seemed to pick it up fairly quickly, able to almost mimic the melody of the songs in the films with only a small amount of trial and error. He found that he could almost feel the music with a certain intuitive clarity, knowing exactly where the sounds were, even though he didn't know what he was playing or any of the music theory behind it. Over the following months, Felix would get better and better, adding more instruments and equipment into the mix and learning the entire soundtracks to a number of films. He would soon move on to creating his own original pieces, playing over scenes that didn't already have music, creating songs based on the particular emotion and pacing in different films. 1 year later, with the help of his story intriguing the director enough to initially get him in the door, Felix got his first real break in life, selling a collection of background score music to a small production for a series pilot. A year later, the show took off. Another year after that, Felix began working with other similar productions, creating more original pieces for small shows, ads, short films, and the like. Over the following decade, Felix would find himself evolving through the ranks of Hollywood, astonishingly becoming a world-renowned, famous film score composer. For the first time in his life, Felix felt successful and worthwhile. At 58 years old, while promoting the premiere of a feature film that he composed the original score for, Felix was asked to speak as part of the film's press conference panel. Like he often would at these types of things, he introduced himself and shared his story. He shared how the unluckiest moment of his life somehow became one of the luckiest, that in some strange sense, the accident that almost killed him saved him. Make no mistake, he always added, the loss of his sight posed a vast array of miserable consequences, but without it, he would have never discovered his greatness, as he put it, and he would have never been there on that stage. Later in the night, the conference opened to a Q&A with the entire audience. Several questions in, one audience member directed one at Felix, asking, I know this might sound strange to ask, but based on what you said earlier, do you think as though losing your vision gave you the ability to make music like this, and it was sort of almost lucky? And if so, what role do you think luck plays in success in general? Felix took a moment and thought to himself before answering, grunting out loud to signify that he had to briefly think about it. Sort of pressured by the need to say something, he began thinking out loud. You know, I know my story can sometimes come off as a typical hopes and dreams always come true kind of thing, that everything always works out, but it isn't, and it doesn't. Not really. People up here are typically supposed to say those sorts of things, and people up here seem to often believe those sorts of things, because of course the world is always fair to those who win. But my case is somewhat unusual. This sort of hybrid lucky tragedy of losing my vision can, for the most part, be clearly pointed to as the cause of my discovery of music composing and my eventual being up here. But it was an accident. If it wasn't for that misstep on the ladder, none of this would have happened for me. And I think far more often than we'd like to admit, we are all pushed and pulled by accidents equally as significant as mine, but far less obvious or apparent, if at all. We are rarely aware of or accounting for the good or bad luck in our stories, because it's never really something we do or see. I've obviously thought a lot about this, and I realized that bad luck isn't just what happens to us, but also what doesn't, and we never know about it. And likewise, so is good luck. So in that sense, I would say yes, in some strange way I am lucky, and luck does play a big role in one's success. But at the same time, the ability to do this, to be a successful music composer, was inside me the whole time. The potential energy of my success and skill was just sitting there, waiting to be made kinetic by the random variables of the world and my personal circumstances. And so it's really both luck and skill, I would say. Because of course, no one ever succeeds in anything hard by not trying, not having talent, and not working hard. One has to have all of those and have them in order to have any shot at all. But plenty of people who work hard, have talent, and try their best never succeed in any grand thing. Luck only finds those who work hard and or are talented, but it doesn't find all those who are or do. And I think this is important to realize because if I am in large part to credit my being here tonight to the arbitrary circumstances of my accident, then how can I have been totally and personally to blame for not having been here before my accident? Or if my accident never occurred? In truth, the majority of us are going to live an ordinary life, never knowing precisely where the good and bad luck lurks. But having been blind for the second half of my life now, it is clear to me that an ordinary healthy life is just as noble and worthwhile. Work hard, try your best, and enjoy the good fortune if it comes your way, but don't depend on it. And don't think if it doesn't, you are somehow less worthy or solely to blame. I see that now. Felix gestured with a slight head nod to the crowd to indicate that now he was finished. Thank you so much for watching. For anyone interested...
Nice. You were just talking to some friends about something like this? Oh, what was it? What's up, hey Mash? Cool video. Yeah, so if you guys like tuned in the middle, it's basically about like this guy was kind of in a dead-end sort of job situation. He had a dream of becoming a filmmaker in Hollywood. And then one day he accidentally fell off a ladder and got a scratch that led to an infection, a really bad infection. And by the time he recovered, he lost his eyesight. So like he couldn't do his dead-end office job anymore. He couldn't do his he couldn't pursue his film like dreams anymore, and so he just like sat around in misery and like watched movies like for eternity. And then where is it? Yeah, here. And then eventually he like started like he grabbed this like piano that he's had since elementary school but he never touched, and he started like mimicking the songs in the movies, and then he's like, wow, I'm actually pretty good at this. And then he like got a breakthrough in like score production, and then he was very successful. Felt like you were destined to see this video. Really. There's another video that I've seen by this channel. It was one of the first videos I saw by this channel. Oh, hey Ingrove, thanks for following. And wait, someone else followed. Ocean Guy, thank you for following. Welcome. Thought you were thinking of a different video. There is another video that I'm thinking of now. This channel is actually so good. It's so good. Okay, history. Yeah, I want to talk about that video a bit, but yeah, this one. Okay, let's watch this one in a sec. I just realized I'm in the OC category. Oops. I should change probably to just chatting. It's not about OSU at all. My bad. Okay. Um. Oh, what's the channel? I will link it. Called Pursuit of Wonder. Okay. Oh, music. Music. Okay, let's talk about that for a little bit and then play another video. Yeah, what were you talking about with your friends? Unexpected. I think like the point with that video, I guess, is like something like a loss can lead to like changes in your life that like you'd be thankful for, I guess. The Tragedy of Good Luck. Yeah, that's the other one I want to play next. That's one of the first videos I saw on this channel. But yeah, let's watch the Tragedy of Good Luck after this. Actually, we can watch it right now. Actually, yeah, I'm down to just watch it right now. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it's only like 4 minutes, so. There's been bad moments in your life. Think about how things could have been worse if I hadn't gone through them. Do you guys ever think about how, like, sometimes, like, you, like, accidentally slipped, or, like, you almost accidentally slipped down the stairs, but you catch yourself? Or, like, you almost accidentally, like, like, get your fingers locked on, like, a door or something. Or you almost accidentally like don't wake up for an important event. You almost like accidentally do something that would go wrong. And like, do you ever think about how like you just saved yourself so much tragedy and trouble in your life by not doing that? But like, because it like isn't really apparent that it sort of happened, like, or what am I trying to say? Because like there's a difference between almost having gone through something and like ending up in a tragic situation and then going back to how things were before, versus like almost ending up in that tragic situation but like never actually getting into it because like something worked out. um like almost losing something, like not, I guess like you don't realize sometimes how close you were to like tragedy sometimes. So yeah, I think it's very interesting. Very interesting. I felt like I might have to leave the game at some point. Uh-oh. Maybe I should reconsider playing. Oh, referring to Osu. Okay, I see. Some things always come to an end, but do they have to if you're not done? Yeah, let me turn the music back on. Oh, it's so loud. Why is it so loud? Things could go different if things either happened or didn't happen. Yeah. Like every single day there's like countless things that don't happen in your day. Like obviously there's a bunch of stuff that does happen. A bunch of things that you do, like a bunch of thoughts that you have, but like there's a lot of things that you don't, like that just end up not happening in your days, and that's kind of crazy. Most people downplay how bad things could have been because they didn't lose anything. Everything turned out alright. Yep, I agree. Crazy. Yeah, let's watch this video. 4 minutes.
A man named Eric is on a walk with his dog Nova. While on the walk, Eric loses Nova after she pulls the leash from his hand in pursuit of a rabbit that happens to jump out of a bush as they pass by it. Eric chases after Nova, but this only inspires her to run faster until she completely eludes Eric's vision, continuing on her pursuit of the rabbit that has, by now, hidden somewhere in the other direction. After a great deal of time passes, it becomes clear that Nova has outrun her sense of orientation and is now lost. Eric spends the rest of the day and the days following searching for Nova. He notifies neighbors, enlists friends and family to help, puts up signs, and so on. A week goes by. Nova is still missing. Eric is devastated beyond comprehension. He thinks about how horribly unlucky it was that the rabbit jumped out at just the wrong time and that his hand position was just in the wrong place to allow Nova to pull the leash from it. About another week later, a woman shows up at Eric's front door. She has Nova. After Nova and Eric reconnect in a chaotic, heartwarming display of affection, Eric thanks the woman. She introduces herself and tells Eric her name is Vanessa. She's beautiful and about Eric's same age. Eric and Vanessa talk for a little while and seem to hit it off. In the following weeks, they hang out several times and things go so well, they soon begin dating. Eric finds her to be absolutely gorgeous, kind, funny, smart, spontaneous, all the right buzzwords for a perfect romantic partner in a story. Soon, Eric and Vanessa fall in love. The relationship is everything one could reasonably hope a relationship to be. Eric thinks about how lucky it was that Vanessa was the person who happened to be in the right place at the right time to find and return Nova. A couple months go by. Eric is driving on his way to pick up Vanessa. While driving through an intersection, Eric is T-boned at full speed by a driver who distractedly runs a red light coming from the perpendicular side street. Eric is knocked unconscious as he and his car are sent in a thrashing 1080-degree spin. An hour or so later, Eric finds himself in a hospital. A doctor informs Eric of what has happened and explains that he has suffered a severe head injury and that they will need to run some immediate tests as well as a brain scan to determine the severity and if there's any chance of permanent brain damage or internal bleeding. As his consciousness begins to more clearly return to him, Eric thinks about how unlucky he was to have been going to get Vanessa in the exact direction at that exact time. He's furious at the possibility that his life could be ruined by this one random happenstance. Eric is held overnight at the hospital. The next day, the doctor comes into Eric's room. "Eric, how we doing?" The doctor asks. "Fine, a little fuzzy, I guess." Eric replies. "Yeah, I would certainly imagine. You took quite the smack," the doctor says. "Yeah," Eric responds. "So, I reviewed the CT scan, and I have some bad news, and I also have some good news." Confused, Eric says, "Okay, I guess I'll take the bad news first." "Well, technically they're sort of the same piece of news," says the doctor. "What do you mean?" Eric asks with an escalating level of concern and confusion. "The bad news is, we found what appears to be a glioma in your brain." The doctor pauses for a moment, and Eric looks at him, unaware of what this means. "It's a tumor," the doctor goes on to say. "The good news, though, is we found what appears to be a glioma in your brain." "What do you mean? How's that good news?" Eric asks. "This tumor has nothing to do with your accident. You actually got out of the accident relatively unharmed. But because of your accident, we ran the brain scan. Because of the brain scan, we found the tumor. Normally, we only catch a tumor like this after someone realizes something's wrong when they start to feel the symptoms, which is almost always too late. Because we found the tumor right now, though, we caught it while it's still benign before it became malignant and grew into any other areas of your brain, which in almost all cases becomes fatal. Since it's still in this stage, though, we should be able to remove it almost entirely without any issue. Eric, in a weird way, this car accident basically saved your life. So I guess, sort of good news disguised as bad news," the doctor concludes. Eric starts to feel a weird, visceral, tingling sensation and becomes slightly disoriented. Maybe it's the head injury, maybe it's the emotion of the situation, maybe it's the fact that the doctor just essentially said the same thing twice, but Eric experienced two totally different mental responses. Maybe it's everything. Regardless, Eric looks around at the room. He thinks about how lucky he was to have been going to get Vanessa in the exact direction at that exact time. He thinks about how lucky he was to have gotten in the car accident. He thinks about how weird it is to think this. For something so bad to be so good, and for something so good to be so bad. In this moment, Eric realizes how little he knows about what anything actually is. That he has never and can never know what exists on the other side of anything that happens to him or because of him, no matter how good or bad, lucky or unlucky any of it might seem. Eric feels a strange, paradoxical sense of helplessness and liberation. About a week later, Eric undergoes brain surgery to remove the tumor. The surgery is successful. Eric is mostly as good as new, with exception to a scar running down the side of his scalp. Several days later, after being released from the hospital, Eric is at home with Vanessa, recovering. To get some fresh air, he takes Nova out for a walk.
Wow. Awesome. Exact situation happened to your brother, but with a blood clot? Oh, wait, I don't know what that is. He would have died if they didn't get it checked out. He got hit by a car. Oh, what? What the heck? Yeah, what? That's actually so crazy. I mean, it's like one thing to like hear about it in like an anecdotal story. It's another thing to like actually know that that happened to you. So that's crazy. Alright, music. Unrelated colonoscopy. Oh, wow. Maybe I should get scans. I don't know. I think I talked about this in like when talking about failure and fear and failure, but like I think it's up to our own perceptions if we like what we perceive as like good or bad is up to our own interpretations. Crazy undiagnosed thing. Yeah, something good to keep in mind. I guess like on the topic of that real quick is that like please don't like assume that like just because it's you're like immune to tragedy and you're immune to like the disorders that you hear other people getting, like cancer and stuff like that. So a lot of people fall into this trap that's like, oh, some people get cancer, but like, I'm the main character of my story. There's no way that can happen to me. And that's sometimes what ends up being people's downfall, because people are like in denial that anything's actually wrong. So, yeah, main character syndrome. Is that actually what it's called? Like, To me, I guess this, like, you could maybe just see this as like a sort of like trick that you're telling yourself for the sake of not feeling too bad about things. But like, I like to see like everything as like maybe not necessarily good or bad, but like it's sort of like there's potential for growth and positive change in like everything that happens to you. Like especially when like losing something leads to like a drastic change in your life. It's like what, like now that things are different in your life, like what are you going to be able to do now, or like what are you going to end up doing now that you would have never done before? And like being able to find success in those things is like crazy. So yeah, I think loss is a good thing. Or like in other news, oh, what's the song? Hey Tara, good morning. Yeah, I think like seeing something as like a bad thing or a bad event is your own decision, I guess, to see things that way. 5 seconds, that's already wisdom. Thank you. Yep. No problem. Seems something as a bad event is your decision. Yeah. Agreed. Much agreed. Yeah, exactly. You can't control what happens to you. You can control what you do with what happens to you. Yeah, I agree. I think like sometimes what frustrates people is like when things are out of their control, that like they get frustrated because they can't do anything about it. First real tournament. Oh my god. Oh, let's go. Yeah. Loss is good. Loss is powerful. Like you grow more from loss than from success, I guess, or like keeping. You don't grow from success. Oh no, not to say that, but like I guess like okay, not necessarily things being handed to you, but like success maybe in the sense of like the avoidance of loss. Like potential loss that you didn't even realize almost happened. Like things kind of staying the way they were. Like okay, do you guys find the avoidance of loss to be success? Or do you just kind of see it as like things kind of just stay the same? Like if something almost like something bad almost happened to you, like you almost forgot your wallet at the cash register, like you almost like yeah, like stuff like that. Like it's sometimes hard to realize that like things almost just went like completely and horribly wrong. Another event in life, but do you necessarily see it as success? Don't think that's a success. And do you think the avoidance of success is necessarily a loss? Like let's say all you had to do is put your foot in the door and you'd have gotten exactly what you wanted. And so like you didn't even realize that things were so within reach. And so you end up staying the same. You didn't even realize. That's not a loss. Is it really? Are you sure? Hey Lucas, thanks for following. Welcome. Someone who fails at a task that it was extremely embarrassing. So much more focused to not make that same mistake again. Yeah, that's true, I guess. Fried meat. That's actually an insane question. Watching your videos recently and I find them so helpful. Oh, thank you, Lucas. Thank you. I'm glad. What if you learn from the loss? Yeah, then it's success. If you grow from the loss, if you end up finding more success in the future because of the loss that you're experiencing now, then is it really loss? Well, okay, obviously it was loss of something, but like, is it really a bad thing? I guess a lot of people are quick to paint a bad image on like loss that happens to them or failure that happens to them. Loss is different from losing. Like failing to like win a tournament or like a competition or something. Cost benefit analysis. Well, I think that can kind of backfire. Because like in the moment it seems so devastating. Like you don't even like in the moment when you lose something and like you're very like distraught or like taken down about it, you don't realize, like you don't know what's gonna end up happening in the future. Milkness. Win or loss, it's still an experience. Yep, I think that's the bottom line of like my perspective. Like I don't see things necessarily as like something good happened or like something bad happened, I guess. Like usually I just see like something just happened and it's like, okay, something just happened. I don't think failing to lose. Interesting. I don't think failing, like I don't think avoiding loss is success. I think avoiding success is a loss. Wait, did I say that right? I don't know. You guys know what I mean. There's nothing you can do to change a result that already happened. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. I kind of want to make a Twitter poll about this. I'm actually down. I'm going to do it. You're thinking of unavoidable loss or tragic loss for this discussion. No real lessons to learn. Even if you think you have no real lessons to learn, like in the second video we watched, like where he goes blind, like where's the lesson in that? Makes me feel down to earth. I don't have a lot of friends that really like to talk about these things. Aw, well, I'm glad we get to talk about this. Obviously you can profit from something coming from loss. This music feels kind of loud. Oh, hey Creepium, thanks for following. There was an overall good outcome. Yeah, but like in the moment, he didn't see the good outcome because it hadn't happened to him yet. You can profit from something coming from a loss in the long term. In general, losses are per definition bad. Usually more effective strategies to achieve success. I mean, yeah, obviously that like you don't want to throw away everything you have and like experience great tragedy just to find success. Like I obviously agree with that. Okay, let's make a Twitter poll. Okay, yep. Seems good. Okay, I'm gonna announce this in my server. Twitter was at digitalhypno. No, it's not. This is my Twitter. If you're in a bad spot, anything that maintains the status quo is a loss. Things that maintain the status quo are a success already. So you're okay, I see. So you're saying that if like things are staying good, then that's good. Like if things are staying how they are, then it's whether or not the way things are already good or bad is already good or bad. Okay, I'm very curious to know what ends up happening to this poll. Tips on nerve control. Have you seen PhD? Because I did talk about nerve control in PhD. I also did a discussion on nerve control, so maybe those are both on my YouTube channel. I've seen first. Oh yeah, nerve control is at the end, so hopefully that section will be able to help you. Yeah. And if you want more on nerve control, you can watch my Torny nerves discussion video. Yeah, I mean the two main categories are like be really confident or like distract yourself, I guess. Like to think about homework. Uh-oh. Play time's free, so you gotta go. Uh-oh. See a fire. Sorry about that. enjoyed these discussions. Hey, thanks for hanging out. Yeah, I've been thinking of like I have been wanting to like fix any issues in my sleep schedule and like stream at earlier times, because it's not like I only ever want to stream at this hour. It just kind of has been happening this way because of like my sleep schedule, my like schedule in general. But it's so bad. It's like so unhealthy. Yeah, it's like 8 p.m. for me right now, and I like woke up before I started streaming. I'm gonna miss. Oh no! Oh no! What if I miss? What happens if I miss? What happens if I break my full combo? What happens if I don't get maximum score? Performance is lowered when sleep schedule is abnormal. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it is. But yeah, for sure, like abnormal sleep leads to like inconsistent lifestyle leads to inconsistent performance. That's pretty much it. And that includes sleep. Oh, hey, Luli? Luli? I don't know how to pronounce, but thanks for following. Welcome. Oh, and yellow jello. Okay, let's read through some replies so far. Don't know either. Oh, okay, well. Well, actually quite a few responses. Okay. If you avoid loss, you'll never gain because you need to lose something to gain something interesting. If a $100 bill gets blown by the wind into your face, I don't think that requires losing anything. Funny. Success doesn't equal gaining something. Okay, this is true. This is true. Avoiding loss is success. You need to know how to avoid it by experiencing loss. There are things that things that nearly happen to you all the time that could have happened. Opportunity cost should be held distinct from discrete loss. Oh my god. That's your treat. Oh, let's go. Opportunity cost should be held. Oh, go. Thanks for following. Opportunity cost should be held distinct from discrete loss. We saw narrowly missing success. As a loss, and we experience loss much more than. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Agreed. As a rule of thumb, your expectation sets the bar. Your expectation is what sets the bar for whether A or B are true. If you expect to succeed and experience loss, if you expect to succeed and then experience loss, if you expect to lose and you do, I wouldn't call that a loss. Oh, interesting. So this is basically a point of like perspective. The last reply is pretty much exactly what I think. I see. I see. Hey, XDM. Thanks for following. Welcome. Wow, welcome guys. Okay. Awesome. It's an interesting way to think. Oh, uninteresting way to think about it is whether unrealized opportunity loss is distinct from realized. Like more costs versus benefits than we might realize. Yeah, of course. Of course. Being near to success and not reaching it can affect our mindset. Hey, Wowie. I just like having these sorts of discussion streams. Well, oh, did you see my tweet? You should, read my tweet. If we never know about it, then it can't affect our mental or other things. Well, being near to success and not reaching it can affect our mindset and have real lasting effects. Well, like, I guess, like, this discussion is more so, like, for the sake of, like, opening your perspective to, like, potentials and, like, possibilities and, like, what could be out there for you, I guess. Like, there's a lot more to what you perceive. There's a lot more to things than what you perceive them to be, I guess. Hey, 3K. Hey, hello, 3K. Good morning. Knowledge is what realizes the effects. More in your own control than you might think. Well, I'm trying to think about this. They're accurate enough to where I would say both are true. Okay, if I had to respond to this poll, I can't respond to my own polls on Twitter, but I would probably say that both A and B are true. Yeah, like I think on paper both of them are true. Can't really find any argument that would, you know, like change that fact. Okay, let's see. Whether unrealized opportunity cost is distinct from realized opportunity cost. I think, like, the whole point, I guess, is that, like, what you perceive to be loss or success is, like, ultimately up to your perspective. I suppose. So, like let's say you're, like, in the kitchen or something, and you're, like, cutting something in half with, like, a kitchen knife, and then, like, the knife ended up very, very close to your finger, and, like, you're just sitting there, you're like, wow, I just kind of almost obliterated my finger. That would have been very bad. And then, like, you don't think about it again. But, like, it's, like, little things like that, that's, like, that could have been very, very bad. You would have had to actually deal with those consequences. Yeah, like, is you, like, the fact that you didn't do that, you avoided loss very narrowly, like, would you consider that a success? I guess, like, fundamentally, like, I don't know, like, is success that something good happened, or that something bad didn't happen? You wouldn't think of it that way naturally. Yeah, I know, but, like, I guess, like, yeah, the whole sort of sake of discussion thing, I think it's, I don't know, I think it's interesting. Not a success because it's not that you were trying to almost cut your finger. Both failures and successes should be distinct from your individual status quo. Are you saying that, like, your perception of failure and success should be based on, like, society's perception of failure and success, and that is different from your own internal, like, values? Hey, bro, welcome back. Your perception of failure and success should be dependent on how different it is from normal. Normal as in, like normal by your own life, or normal as in like what society expects out of a typical person? Like the way that things have been for you, from your own perspective. Okay, I see. So like, well, just because something is drastically different from your norm doesn't mean that it's a failure. Like if you're from like a sort of like lower end class family and like you've never really had any opportunities, and then like all of a sudden like some drastic change, you know, like you got like scouted and like you're getting chosen for like some like big like event or something, I don't know, like some drastic change that changes your life like that, it's very different from normal. But like no one would call that a failure, or no one would call that a loss. If you actually, if you are actually doing something to avoid bad things, that's success. If you didn't, but if you weren't thinking about like if you weren't intentionally trying to avoid the bad thing and the bad thing just kind of avoided itself, then that's luck. I see. If it's success and loss are on two opposite ends of a spectrum, avoiding an accident is starting in the middle, ending in the middle. Okay, yeah. I suppose. I think like the small avoidances of loss that you'd never really notice usually don't really have an effect on your life. But like sometimes like you almost get into like an accident and like it really shakes you up. Like you almost got in a car accident. You almost like completely like got obliterated. Like stuff like that. That like yeah, like you avoided loss, but it shook you up so much that like now you like are more careful, and because you're more careful as a result, maybe in the future you end up not getting into an accident that you actually would have gotten into if you were the same degree of carelessness that you were before. Success is something that you wanted to happen. Success is not equal to obtaining life lessons. Okay. Hold on, I'm like processing my like I gotta like scrape the rust off the gears in my brain right now. Going crazy. Oh, hey Luca. Thanks for following. Welcome. Discord. Oh, Discord. Join my Discord server, guys. Background music. Oh yeah, Nintendo music never fails. You guys want the video? Okay. Okay, Wowie, is there a reason why you don't see obtaining life lessons as a success? I mean, it depends on the way you perceive success. If you perceive success as like a sort of like tangible, like objectifiable sort of like change, then yeah, it would be true that success is not like obtaining success is not the same as obtaining life lessons. I'd consider learning about death a life lesson. Doesn't feel like success in the moment. I guess, like, does success necessarily involve, like, everything where, like, something good came out of it? Like, every situation where, like, something good happened. Like, how would you define success? Like, a change in your life that's good, or just, like, something that's good? Perspective moment. Like, do you have to be able to objectify, like, the change? And also, like, yeah, some people have been mentioning that like there has to be intent to success. Like, if something just kind of was the way that things ended up going, it's not necessarily success. But it could be. For something to be a success, it has to stem from an intent. We don't think about avoiding accidents until we realize that an accident almost happened. We're reacting to the event of having avoided the accident. Yeah, but I guess, like, if you, well, like, what if you never realize that an accident almost happened? Like, is that still, like, well, okay, even if, like, when you do realize that an accident almost happened and you've, like, avoided it, then do you feel like, wow, that was more of a success than I thought it was, like, sort of thing? Like, things could have been a lot worse, and so, like, in the end, like, this situation was successful compared to, like, alternate like, outcomes that could have happened. Very lucky. It's not a discussion about loss. No, it's not about the comic. It could be, but we're not there yet. No, this is about, like, genuine, like, loss, as opposed to, like, not loss, I guess. Success. I don't know. Being slightly late for work causing you to avoid a car crash. Yeah, like, stuff like that. It's like, I would consider that, like, it's strange because, like, those are the sorts of things that, like, you don't even know. Like, there's so many, like, potential things that could have happened if things were just slightly different, and it's like, oh god. I think, like, the bottom line of my perception, like, I've been, like, making claims and, like, bringing up points throughout this discussion somewhat just for the sake of discussion and, like, elaborating our thoughts and, like, coming to a more clear understanding, rather than actually because, like, everything I propose is also, like, things that I like that are, like, a part of my values. Like, I don't necessarily truly believe, like, all the things that I've been proposing, and I guess that's sort of true for all my discussions. But, like, the way that I see things, I don't know, I try to take a more, like, objective viewpoint of, like, being late for work was bad. Like, obviously, you know, not something that you wanted to happen, and that could have been better, but, like, at the same time, there are, like, so many more worse things that could have happened, and, like, even, yeah, like you said, like, not, like, if I wasn't late for work, I would have instead gotten in a car crash, and, like, that is, like, crazy to think about. So, like, I don't like to label things in, like, a binary sort of sense, like, this was a success or this was not a success, or, like, this was something good that happened, this was something bad that happened. Like, things just kind of happen, and, like, there are pros and cons and potential outcomes that could have come up and things like that. You load 10k into GME GameStop, up 2.5 mil. Okay, oh, okay, interesting. Don't sell until later and only come up to 50k. Like, my genuine perspective is that it's both, obviously. like outside of this whole sake of discussion, like the way that I usually see things is that like I mean obviously it's both. But if you're asking like which one is it closer to, I would consider it like there's like different parts of it. Like obviously like it's like probably not hard to come to this conclusion that there are different parts of the situation that are success and different parts of it that are loss. So like in that sense it's very hard to label it like that. But I would I guess like the thing is that not only are you only ending up at 50k instead of 2.5 million, but you're like gaining the experience that comes with like not getting as much as you could have, and so like in the future you become better at it. Like your principles about like when to sell like get a bit more refined, and you're able to like minimize losses in the future. So I would consider it much more of a success than a loss, because even the loss has like benefits to it. Okay. Is luck a form of success? You can get lucky and win the lottery. Is that not a success? Difference with that is that the lottery is something that you thought about before you won. Avoiding an accident is something you didn't even know was about to happen. That's true. I think that's sort of like the argument that a lot of people are bringing up with like intent about success. But you can end up in a position of, I guess, success like just by happenstance. Like you get successful because of things that naturally happen to you. Like, yeah, I don't know. I would consider luck a form of success. Yeah. Like bottom line, I would. Seventh grader. I don't consider this could have been better as a loss. I see. I mean, yeah, objectively, like, you had potential of 2.5 million, and then because like you didn't act on it, it ended up only being 50k. So obviously, objectively, there was like a loss of potential value that you would have gotten out of your YOLO. Is success synonymous with accomplishment? No. I think accomplishment is what a lot of you guys are kind of seeing as success, that like you like achieved something. But I guess I sort of see success more of like something good happened. Like, something good came out of this. So like, yeah, like I don't know. I don't just want to say like any situation where like things could have been worse. Like things always could have been worse. Like, so. Missed a car crash because you're late for work. You just don't know. If a tree falls down in a forest and no one is around to hear it, did it make a sound? Oh. Wait, let me think about this. Well, like, for example, let's say that, like, hypothetically, like, 2 minutes forward into the, I guess, like, in, like, the whole, like, traffic scheme of, like, the road that you were on, there was actually a car crash. Like, let's say you were late to work because of the car crash. Like, what about that? Like, traffic got held up because of a car crash, and now, as a result, you're late to work. And now you're like, oh, if I had left my house 30 seconds earlier, I would have been ahead of the car crash. But what if you were in the car crash? Like, what if you were in the position of that car that ended up getting hit? Like, what then? Would you consider that a success? Because now you do know that, like, if you were a little earlier, you actually would have been in that position yourself. Prepare to take advantage of luck. Capitalizing on luck is more important. I guess that goes back to the question in my Twitter poll. Like, is avoiding loss, is that a success? And like, if you guys like just tuned in, this is the tweet that I'm talking about. Define loss. Oh god. That's like, if I'm trying to think of success as something good happening, then I guess I would define loss as something bad happening. But I don't know. This is like hard to think about, and like that's not my final answer. Point of the stream, yeah, I guess like the whole point of the discussion. Oh, this music is so loud. Oh, sorry. What does it mean to lose to be successful? Loss is when you lose something, like a physical object. You can't lose something that you don't have. They're not physical necessarily. I mean, yeah, obviously, like it can be in the sense of like a competition or something. Like you lose a competition. But what does it mean to lose a competition? Is that you missed success, right? In the context of a competition, losing means that you didn't succeed. Is definitive criteria, that's true. But there's losing a competition or a match objectively. And I guess there's like, I don't know, like coming out of it with more than like you had before. Like coming out of it with like more experience, more motivation, more memories to look back on. Even if you objectively lose the match, you could have had maybe a lot of fun. And like you found maybe even more enjoyment out of it than the person who objectively did win the match or competition. Huge success. Oh, true. I see, like there are smaller successes within a competition that even though like you can take the match result objectively and say that it was a loss, like other things within the competition or like regarding the competition could have been successes. Losing objectively but winning subjectively through positive vibes. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Take the loss, you learn from it and improve. Yeah, sometimes it's only because you lose so much that you're motivated to make changes. Maybe like push yourself to improve more or like change your habits. And then as a result, you end up finding more success than you would have ever if you never had those losses in the first place. Like you become way more successful as a result of your losses than if you never had those losses in the first place. And so like the question is like, is not having those losses necessarily a success? Up the granularity of what we're talking about. Massive success from every point. Yeah. Like obviously within the context of just the 1v1 that we hypothetically have tomorrow, like you can objectively look at it and be like, you know, you lost the match. That is a loss. But like, yeah, exactly. Hurting my brain too much. Okay, CA3K, thanks for participating in the discussion. Much appreciated. How far do we look to evaluate success? As far as you want, I guess. I think that's kind of the whole thing, is that like there's always, I guess, like success that comes out of like an objective loss, and it just sort of comes from your reaction to the loss. I've had more fun in tournaments than I've had sometimes when playing Osu normally. Yeah, that was me when I started playing tournaments. That's kind of part of the reason why I like took the tournament life rather than continuing to play solo and set solo scores, because it wasn't as fun. If you're a new tournament player and you place top 3 in a tournament, you may feel like that's a success. Even if you didn't win. Yeah, oh crap, that was loud. Yeah, for sure. Maybe that means every failure is a success in some way. Yeah, exactly. I became a hidden main, now I can't play no mod. Uh-oh. You can always play on team tournaments and only go in for hidden. In free mod, where you take hidden. You could. There's some players that do that, and they're not bad. Like in team tournaments, you can just specialize in something, and as long as you're really good at it, people will still want to play with you. Like if you can only play hidden, but you're very comfortable with hidden, then you'll do better on the hidden maps than, I guess, like the average player that's just decent at everything. Obviously, like, I guess you would end up doing worse at other things, but you don't need to play those other things in Osu tournaments. You only need to go in for hidden. It's almost as if all failures have a... Wait, what does that mean? A partial refund. Oh, I see. Partial refund to someone who has paid too much money for a tax, rent, or utility. Oh, let's see. You can recoup your losses if you just mail in the rebate. You get your value back. The life loss. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, like all you have to do is like take the lesson out of it, I guess. Yeah, I agree with that. I like that wording. For every single experience we have in life, we can take something useful from it. Yeah, I agree. I think like the problem is that sometimes people tend to be too short-sighted to notice things like that, and I think that's kind of sad in a way. Is there a rank you think a player should have reached before they tried to participate in tournaments? No, not at all. It's more about your comfort with your abilities rather than your rank. I think Osu rank is like the most deceptive thing that's ever been invented. In regards to perceiving player skill. Like in the long term it ended up being that way. Good night, Nai. Thanks for participating in the discussion. Much appreciated. Like because of how abused the ranking system has become, like it is now like the most detrimental like thing to a lot of people's improvement. Play better than people 10k above you. Oh, yeah, exactly. Like who cares what your number is? It might as well just be like your user ID or something. I think every tournament player needs to be very well rounded. Oh, no, not at all. And that's a good point. Even in 1v1s, you can have weaknesses, but if you have more strengths and weaknesses on your opponent, then, yeah, for 1v1s, like, you just need to win more points than your opponent. Like, you can have maps that you, like, are guaranteed to lose because they're just straight up better than you. Like, for example, you're against, like, someone who's crazy good at speed and stamina. Like you only have so many bands. Like they pick a couple speed and stamina maps, and like there's no chance that you'll ever win them. But because you're good at everything else, you'll end up winning the match. What is this song? Oh, it's like kind of loud. I'm just gonna skip the song. The volume's all messed up. Do you ever throw maps when you feel it's unwinnable? Oh yeah, yeah, I've done that. I did that in like grand finals of like some tournament that I played. Like there was this like crazy stamina map that like a quarter way through I checked the scoreboard and he had like 4 times my score, and I was like, yeah, it's not worth playing through. And it wasn't that I was trying to like give up or that I had like a negative mindset or that like it was more like literally because I didn't want to burn out all my stamina for the match. And I don't believe in coincidences. Oh, that like everything happens for a reason. What's the point of playing low stars? Oh yeah, it's for the sake of developing your fundamental skills. If you watch PhD, OC PhD, you'll be able to I think hopefully it's explained there if you haven't seen that. Grandma passed away. What? Oh no, I'm so sorry. I think this discussion is like almost coming to an end, but yeah, I think this discussion was definitely very interesting. Interesting. I think I'll probably like edit the VOD to like cut out like the unrelated stuff. Like there was a part in this stream where like I sort of took a break from the discussion to like edit some YouTube thumbnails for some of my videos. Like change some of the text on them. So like stuff like that I'll probably cut out. But yeah. Definitely it was a much more interesting discussion than I had expected. Like I thought of this like discussion topic and I was a little unsure of like where it would go, but I think this is very interesting. Oh, ooh, Metonyms, thank you. Thanks for the resub. Thank you. Yeah, I think for now, now might be a good time to end my stream actually. Yay! But thanks for hanging out, guys. Much appreciated. Yeah, I think that was a good discussion. I'll be streaming again tomorrow. Probably I'm hoping to do player analysis tomorrow. Like I'm sure like my plan is like I go to sleep like right now, pretty much, and I'll wake up feeling better. Oh, are you? You should watch the VOD. I think this VOD was actually pretty nice. I mean, I'll upload it to YouTube. Maybe you can just wait until then. But I think this discussion ended up being a lot more interesting than I expected. Well, Ari, do you have any last words on experiencing loss? Just work harder. Yeah, I think like the motivation that you sometimes get out of losing something can like outweigh the objective loss that you experienced. Like if you like obviously like you know like not winning a tournament match, like obviously like objectively you lost, but like because that motivated you to get better, and like you end up finding more success than you ever would have if you didn't get that loss in the first place. Lose to something out of your control. Yeah. Yeah, that's understandable. That's understandable. Worthless to be sad after losing. True. I agree. I guess like that even goes beyond like just tournament matches and stuff like that. But yeah, we had like this whole discussion. But yeah, I am definitely gonna upload this. I'll like trim out all like the dead space, unrelated space, like literally dead space where like maybe nothing really happened for like 10 minutes. Watch the VOD. Yeah, you can probably just like speed up the VOD, and that'll be like an hour-long VOD. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for being here. Yeah, sorry to those who just got here, but yeah, this will be uploaded to YouTube. So, yay! Having a sleep, whatever I'm gonna do. Yeah, I'm going to sleep. I've been like literally like gradually losing sleep for like the last month. I feel like I've like not caught up on sleep. It's so bad. So I'm tired of it. I'm going to sleep.